Dare's daughter and girlfriend are fighting for his attention, and now he is confused about who to choose between them. Guys, what do you think he will do? Let's find out. Kindly subscribe to this channel to get more of our latest stories. One afternoon, Rebecca went to her fiancé's house, and a lady opened the door for her. Rebecca asked who she was, but the lady, Nancy, insisted that Rebecca introduce herself first since she was the visitor. Rebecca felt displeased and began saying offensive words to Nancy, who ignored her and was about to go inside. However, Rebecca grabbed her back, insulting her further and calling for Dare. When Dare came outside, he introduced Nancy as his daughter. Rebecca immediately felt remorseful, while Nancy left, feeling displeased. Dare then asked Rebecca if she had said anything to Nancy, but she denied it. Later that day, in the kitchen, Rebecca tried to apologize to Nancy for her earlier behavior, explaining that she didn't know she was Dare's daughter. However, Nancy expressed how hurt she felt and firmly stated that she would never allow her father to end up with Rebecca, addressing her rudely. Rebecca, feeling upset, walked away. That same day, Nancy brought food for her dad, but when Rebecca brought a salad for Dare, Nancy told her to stop, saying that her dad didn't want salad. Dare calmed the situation by accepting the salad, but Rebecca felt displeased and sat quietly. As they ate, Dare complimented Nancy on her delicious cooking, making her feel good. However, Rebecca commented that the food was okay but could be better, suggesting that Nancy join her cooking school to improve. At that moment, Dare recalled that Nancy had just enrolled in a cooking school, which turned out to be the same one Rebecca attended. This revelation intensified the tension between the two women. Later, Dare held up a car key and spoke a few words of love and appreciation. Rebecca hesitated, thinking he was about to give her a gift, but to her surprise, Dare handed the car key to his daughter, Nancy, making her happy, while Rebecca felt left out. Later that day, Rebecca was sitting alone when Dare approached her. She complained to him about not getting her a car, but he reminded her that she already had one. Rebecca responded that she had bought it with her own money and that it had been giving her problems. Dare teased her for being jealous, and eventually, they got along again. The following day, Rebecca came downstairs, attempting to cook for Dare, but Nancy told her she got there first. They exchanged words, and Rebecca left. The next day, Dare and his daughter Nancy had a great time together as she shared details about the cooking competition she was participating in at her school. That same day, Rebecca told Dare that she had overheard his conversation with Nancy and informed him that she was also competing since she had been in the cooking school for years. Dare approved, not minding that his fiancée and daughter would be competing against each other. Meanwhile, Rebecca approached Nancy to explain that she had also been nominated as a competitor in the cooking competition, intending to maintain harmony between them. However, Nancy expressed her displeasure and walked away arrogantly. Guys, do you think Rebecca is doing the right thing by competing with Nancy in the same cooking competition? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments section. That same day, Nancy confided in her aunt, explaining that Rebecca wanted to compete against her in the competition. Her aunt tried to change her perspective, assuring her that Rebecca was not competing with her, but rather just participating, and that no one could take her place in her father's heart. She reminded Nancy that Rebecca was Dare's girlfriend and dear to him, but Nancy disagreed as they continued talking. The following day, Rebecca went to the kitchen, called Nancy, and complained to Dare that Nancy hadn't cleaned up after cooking. When Nancy came out, she disregarded Rebecca's complaint and left. Dare then told Rebecca to ignore it and that he would help her clean, leaving Rebecca upset. The following day, Nancy's aunt discussed with Rebecca the importance of harmonizing with Nancy. Rebecca responded that Nancy didn't like her, but Nancy's aunt insisted that she try to make Nancy understand that she was not in competition with her. Rebecca agreed to try. The next day, Nancy met with Dare and told him that her cooking school required her to have a family member support her as part of the competition, to which he agreed. Shortly after, Rebecca came in and told Dare that her cooking school had the same requirement. Dare informed her that he had already agreed to support Nancy. However, Rebecca reminded him that he was her fiancé and should stand by her. Dare agreed, and she left. Nancy, feeling upset that he had agreed to support both of them, confronted him. He tried to calm her down, but she left angrily. That same day, at Dare's apartment, Nancy confronted Rebecca rudely, accusing her of trying to take her father away from her. Rebecca explained that she wasn't doing that, but Nancy, overwhelmed by frustration, lashed out at her and then walked away. The following morning, as everyone was preparing to leave and cheer Nancy on for her cooking competition with words of encouragement, Rebecca insisted that they all leave together. However, Nancy refused. Dare tried to convince Nancy, but she remained adamant. Finally, her aunt intervened, and they all left together. That same day, at Dare's house, Nancy's aunt advised Dare to try to settle the dispute between Nancy and Rebecca. Dare also expressed his frustration, and she encouraged him to talk things out with his daughter. He explained how much he loved and cared for both Nancy and Rebecca, and they deliberated on the issue. Guys, what do you think Dare should do? Should he choose his girlfriend over his daughter, or his daughter over his girlfriend? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. The following day, Nancy excitedly shared the good news with her dad. She had been chosen among the top 10 contestants in her cooking competition. She was thrilled. However, when her dad asked about Rebecca's results, her mood immediately changed. She replied that she didn't know. When he pressed further, she nonchalantly admitted that Rebecca had also made it. Dare reminded her that Rebecca was also part of the family, but Nancy quickly changed the subject, saying she was going shopping and left. A while later, Rebecca arrived and also shared her good news with Dare. They rejoiced together. That same night at Dare's residence, Nancy confronted Rebecca and argued with her about competing against her. She told Rebecca that her dad would never marry her and hurled offensive words at her before storming off. The following day, both Nancy and Rebecca waited downstairs for Dare, expecting him to choose whom he would go with. As Dare came downstairs, they approached him, but he explained that he had an urgent meeting with a client and suggested they all go together. He then left, leaving both women disappointed. Later that day, at the competition, all the contestants were asked questions, which they answered swiftly. That same day, Rebecca excitedly shared the good news with Dare. She was the first person chosen for the final round. They hugged, and she left. Shortly after, Nancy arrived and told Dare that she placed fourth and also qualified for the final round. Insisting that they go out together, she and Dare left, leaving Rebecca feeling left out. Meanwhile, when they returned, Rebecca told Dare how jealous she felt for not being celebrated and that she didn't want to compete for his attention with his daughter. Dare comforted her with a gift, assuring her that he had also thought of her and got something special for her. This helped lift her mood. The following day, Dare and Rebecca were spending quality time together when Nancy called, interrupting their moment. When they met outside, Nancy informed Dare that the next competition was scheduled to take place at their house and shared the time and date, which he approved. They hugged. Moments later, Rebecca also came in and shared the same information with Dare, leaving him confused. He tried to reschedule her time, but Rebecca had already sent the confirmation to the school. Nancy disagreed and argued with Rebecca, demanding that Dare choose between them. However, he refused and told them he would support both of them in the competition. Frustrated, Nancy left while Dare expressed his exhaustion over the situation. That same day, Rebecca called her friend to ask for clues about the next cooking competition, but her friend told her she didn't know. A few days later, the judges arrived at the house for the competition. Nancy and Dare welcomed them inside. Shortly after, Rebecca also arrived, and they exchanged pleasantries. The judges then announced that they would be evaluating both Nancy and Rebecca's cooking skills together. Nancy disagreed, but her objections were ignored, and the judges proceeded with the competition details. That same day, Rebecca presented her meal to the judges. As they tasted it, they gave positive feedback and praised her cooking. Then, Nancy presented her dish. However, when the judges tasted it, it didn't meet their expectations and wasn't as good as they had hoped. Rebecca chuckled silently. The judges then asked Dare what he thought of Nancy's cooking. Although his expression and gestures indicated that the food was not good, he verbally said it was okay just to please his daughter. In the end, the judges concluded their evaluation, awarding Rebecca 9 points, which made her happy, while Nancy received 7 points. The judges then left. After they departed, Nancy blamed her father for not choosing her dish. Dara explained that it was the judge's decision, but Nancy continued blaming Rebecca for everything. The two exchanged heated words while Dara tried to calm the tension, but Nancy stormed off. That night, Nancy packed her bags and was about to leave, but Dare stopped her. He spoke to her, expressing his pain and frustration about the ongoing conflict. They exchanged words, and as Nancy saw her father's pain and concern, she decided to stay and went back inside. Meanwhile, Dara sat in the living room, reflecting on his pleasant memories with Rebecca and thinking about everything that was happening. Eventually, he fell asleep there. A while later, Rebecca came to wake him up and asked him to go to bed. Dara then spoke to her about Nancy, pleading with her to tolerate Nancy's misconduct for the sake of peace. However, Rebecca refused, placing all the blame on Nancy for not wanting her around and for being disrespectful. Upset, Rebecca walked away. Later that night, Dara knocked on Nancy's door, requesting to talk. Nancy refused, but Dare persisted, telling her that they could all be one big family. However, Nancy disagreed and went to sleep, leaving Dara to walk away. The following morning, Rebecca woke up and couldn't find Dara. She searched everywhere and called his phone, but it was switched off, leaving her worried. She then went downstairs and asked Nancy about Dare's whereabouts, but Nancy ignored her and walked away. Later that day, Rebecca approached Nancy again, demanding to know where Dara was. Nancy responded sarcastically, saying that Dare had been with Rebecca the night before. They exchanged harsh words, and Rebecca expressed her deep concern for Dara. However, Nancy dismissed her worries, and Rebecca eventually left. Later that day, Nancy, feeling the weight of her father's absence, approached Rebecca to ask about his whereabouts. However, they ended up arguing, exchanging offensive words before Nancy walked away. That night, as both Nancy and Rebecca lay in bed, they felt deeply worried and were unable to sleep due to Dare's absence. The following morning, they approached each other in an attempt to find a solution to Dara's disappearance. They decided to ride together in the same car peacefully. After reaching a certain point, they stopped to discuss what to do next and shared their concerns. However, Nancy ended up saying something offensive to Rebecca, leading to another argument. Frustrated, Rebecca got into her car and drove off, leaving Nancy stranded. That same day, when Rebecca got home, she packed her bags and belongings and left. Nancy, seeing this, felt happy. A few days later, finally returned home. Nancy welcomed him warmly and expressed her concern over his absence. She then excitedly told Dara how happy she was that Rebecca had already left. However, Dare remained quiet and calm, visibly disappointed but choosing not to say much. He then went upstairs. Once in his room, Dara checked the wardrobe and saw that Rebecca had indeed packed all her things. He immediately tried calling her, but she didn't answer, leaving him devastated. That night, Dara couldn't sleep. He kept trying to call Rebecca, but she still didn't pick up. The following morning, Dara felt even more depressed about Rebecca's absence. Nancy came in and tried to talk to him, but he remained silent and withdrawn. Growing concerned, Nancy made another attempt to speak with her father, but he ignored her, and she eventually left, feeling worried. The following day, Nancy entered Dara's room and noticed that he hadn't eaten his food. When she asked him about it, he simply responded that he wasn't hungry, leaving Nancy deeply worried. However, he ignored her concern as she took the food away. A few days later, Rebecca came over and asked Nancy about Dara, mentioning that he hadn't been responding to her calls. Nancy remained rude, saying that it was because he wanted Rebecca out of his life. Rebecca expressed her concern and explained that she had come to check on them. As she was about to leave, Nancy finally opened up and told her the whole truth, that her father hadn't been eating or doing anything since he came back. Rebecca then told her that she believed Dara was upset with both of them, and they decided to go inside together. That same day, Rebecca and Nancy offered Dare some food, pleading with him to eat, but he refused and asked to be left alone. Nancy then apologized, followed by Rebecca, who sincerely told him that they would change their ways, learn to tolerate each other, and live peacefully. Dare then shared his frustration and pain. At that moment, Nancy and Rebecca apologized to each other, decided to start over, and hugged, showing that they had finally made peace. Dara, feeling touched, hugged them both. A few days later, Nancy and Rebecca were in the kitchen, cooking together and enjoying a great time. So guys, if you enjoyed this story, kindly subscribe to this channel to get more of our latest stories.